I'm so delighted to be here and to be able to be here with you. We've been on really quite a whirlwind with Nursing Now. Lots of launches in lots of places, lots of traveling with my esteemed colleague Annette. We find ourselves in all kinds of strange places together. We're going to write a book about it eventually. So I wanted to come and talk to you a bit about where we are with Nursing Now and what we have planned. Now, as I said this morning, Kenya was one of the early adopters of Nursing Now, one of the first groups. In fact, it might even have been the first group. No, says Judy, our regional advisor, but very early adopter and supported by the First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, which was wonderful for us, gave us a big boost. You can see from this picture, which is a picture of the team, one of the teams at Guy's and St. Thomas's, that nursing is a global profession these days. We are like soccer players, except our transfer fees are not quite as high as soccer players. Nevertheless, we are in demand as nurses. And that's very important for us, and it's one of the indications that we need to begin, or continue might be a better way of putting it, we need to continue to think about what our profession is going to look like in 20 years. What is it going to look like? And you know, we're always so busy as nurses that we hardly ever stop to say, what's in the future? So that's one of the things that Nursing Now is pushing to say, what is the profession we want to have? So it's all about things David was talking about. How are we going to meet needs, meet demands? And where do we see ourselves in relation to other health workers? How many people in this room are nurses? Put your hand up. How many people are not nurses? Okay. I think we see here, it was a great experiment, wasn't it, really? I think we see here one of the fundamental problems that we as nurses have. We love talking to each other. Isn't that true? We love it. And no wonder we love it. We're wonderful people. You know, we have great time together. Watch us dance, watch us sing. You know, we're fantastic. But what we have to get to grips with is that we have to start talking out there. We have to start giving these fantastic messages out there. And why? I'm going to talk about that just now. So I'm going to talk about what is Nursing Now, for those of you who perhaps don't know and haven't heard, and why nursing and why now. And I think David's actually given me a great head start there about why now, and I'm going to refer back to some of that. And what nursing offers, and why we are a bit of a challenged profession. And then talking about nursing and global health, and we've heard that referred to this morning already. Nurses are everywhere. And that is both a strength and it can be a weakness. And I'm going to talk about that too. And then, as far as Nursing Now goes, what are the results we're after? And we're now halfway through. So where have we got to and where are we going? And how I want you guys to join in to this journey that's ahead of us in the next 18 months. So we're a global campaign. We work in collaboration with the International Council of Nurses and the World Health Organization. And we're a program of the Burdett Trust, so we do have some small amount of core funding, which has been funding this campaign, but we are going to be moving on to bigger activities, and that's going to be important for all of us to know and to see what we can do to support those globally. So, when I took over as Executive Director in July 2018, we had about approximately 20 countries signed on with Nursing Now groups. In April, we have over 80 countries with Nursing Now groups. Over 80 countries. And we have over 200 groups, national, regional, and local groups. Now that is phenomenal. It speaks to the way that my young team use social media, I think, and they are completely phenomenal at tweeting all over the place and getting things out on Facebook and keeping the web page up to date. And I think that's paid off. But it's also, I believe, about where nursing is now. You know, I was saying we want nursing to envision the future. And for all of us, a change is coming, isn't it? And we've seen that in the SDGs, we see it in universal health coverage, in Astana, the redeclaration of primary health care. We've talked about it this morning. How can we prepare for this? How can we be educated? And as nurses, we have to own this. And we have to own the journey, where we're going, who's going with us, and where we see ourselves in relation to everybody else in the health team, and in relation to our clients and patients. And this is where we need to think about how we take on the public health role. Public health is about the health of people, of communities, not only about individuals. And that's a change for many, many nurses, isn't it, to think population health rather than individual health. And in systems work, we say it's not a case of either or, it's a case of both and. And this is true here. We cannot forget, because it is so essential to so much quality of care, that nursing is about patient-centered care. It's about the relationship that's at the heart of everything that nurses do. And that doesn't change. But it also means we have to pull the camera back into the great big view of where populations are, doesn't it? Because we're all part of a community, all part of a population. We all contribute to those life expectancy graphs, to the infant mortality graphs. And we have to be starting to think about population health and how that should influence what we do and what our roles are. So we want to, as a campaign, we're all about nursing, but I have to say something that my boss, Lord Nigel Crisp, always says. We're not a campaign about nursing, we're a campaign about health. And I think that's largely true. And Gitani this morning was pointing out, that we all get lost in talking about how wonderful we are and we need more health workers. And we clearly do need more health workers. But we need more health workers to create more health. That's the purpose of it. And that's why we need to strengthen nursing. Because nursing has the unfulfilled capacity to make a huge difference in both personal health and in public health. And that capacity is unrealized in many places. And that's why we're working with nurses to influence that. We want, as David said, to promote and develop nurse leaders. And I'm going to talk a bit about how we do that. We also want to do something you're doing here, which is to make sure we have a platform to share good practice. Nurses have never been very good at that, and we want to see how that can change. I'm going to go through the rest now. So what are we doing for this? What we're doing centers around trying to improve the policy levers that nursing has. Policy levers are these, as shown by research, particularly by Judith Shamian, robust research evidence. Now, nursing is characterized by having probably more research done on it than any other profession. Everybody is always looking at whether nursing is safe, whether it's effective, how many nurses you need to change a light bulb. There's endless research about nursing. But what is the problem with that research? It's the problem that's highlighted here. How many non-nurses in this audience? Hands up. 2. So no matter how much research evidence we have, it's no good for policy unless we can get it out there and we can get that research evidence linked to policy. And that's one of the areas that we're going to be specially looking at with Professor Aisha Holloway, who's just joined our team and who specializes in that field. We hope to be helping everybody out there by giving you tools and approaches that will help you do that. We also want to create leadership among young nurses so that you become much more politically astute. So this is not just about your personal leadership qualities, which are very important. It's about supporting you so that you are able to become engaged in dialogue with decision makers and with policy makers, because that's something we haven't traditionally done. So those are our goals. Now, everything we're doing is kind of wrapped around here. I said I'd talk about the research evidence. I'm not going to linger on this. You can look at this on our website. This is the triple impact of nursing. And it's already been referred to because it's mirrored in other reports. It leads to better health, stronger economies, and greater gender equality. Now, the evidence for this is in the report on the triple impact. We also have done another study on nursing and midwifery and universal health coverage. And, you shouldn't be surprised at this. Nursing midwifery is the key. It's the key to the rapid expansion of high-quality universal health coverage. And this report is also available on our website and through the WISH website as well. So this resonates very much with what David was talking about, but this is our message. The health workforce is a best buy in sustainable development. Nursing should not be seen as a cost, but an investment. So when policymakers, politicians complain about the cost of employing more nurses, this is the evidence you need to have to show them. This is not a cost. You're going to get a return on investment, a triple impact. So remember this: economic growth, social development, and health and human security. David mentioned the high-level commission. I'm not going to talk about that anymore because he has. But you and we need to have this evidence at our fingertips, because this is the evidence for investing in nursing, along with other health workers, but it's the evidence for us too. So what we are saying is we want, Nursing Now is campaigning for investing in and developing nursing and midwifery so that we can have nurse-led clinics, specialist nurses, bigger and better midwifery services, primary health care, health promotion, and disease prevention. These are the functions at the heart of nursing. And we want to claim these because these are the path to universal health coverage. Invest in nursing, you get yourself onto this path. This is what we're saying for Nursing Now and through our Nursing Now groups. This is actually not a Nursing Now slide, it's a Barbara Stilwell slide, but I thought I would just share it anyway, because I think this is one of the challenges that we face. It's both a challenge and it's an advantage. I've called this adaptive nursing, the art and science of the possible. One of the things that nurses have always done, and I'm as old as the hills, so I can tell you this has been happening for a very long time. What nurses do is they go and fill gaps. So if there's nobody actually able to make breakfast for the patient, and Lord knows we've had discussions about this in England, and they're still having them after 26 years I've been away. If a nurse decides to make a piece of toast for the patient because she's around there, you know, doing the morning insulin or whatever it is, that's considered social care. And, you know, it causes a furore because nurses say, well, I shouldn't do this, and social workers say, you shouldn't do this, it should be the home care system, and they're right. But at some point, you have to think, you have to be able to argue when you are adapting nursing to fill the gaps, and therefore you need other people, and when you're actually doing something that's at the heart of what you should be doing. And this becomes very important when we look at whether nurses are, as I think David said earlier today, working to the top of their license. That's the only way you get a cost-efficient workforce, is if everybody works to the top of their license. So everybody should be doing what they are best qualified to do. And sometimes with nursing, we go in and out of that, don't we? But we're not very good at articulating why and what we're doing. So one of the results of that is that in many places, including the UK, nursing is not considered a STEM. It's not considered as a scientific education, which is dreadful, absolutely dreadful. It's a science and an art. It's a complex profession. And we need to be able to articulate that, and that's where this does leak into nursing now, because that's what nursing now should be doing. We should be articulating where our strengths are. Who is this person in the picture here? Annette's not allowed to answer. Who is it? Yes, Florence Nightingale, whose 200th birthday falls in 2020. She's always depicted as the lady with the lamp, isn't she? Actually, the lamp often changes shape, but it's always a lamp. What most people don't know about Florence Nightingale is she was the first woman member of the Royal Statistical Society in England. The first woman member. She was a really disruptive leader, highly influential. She made the links between environment and infectious disease. And not only she did that, she collected the data, she turned it into graphs and pictures that were convincing, and she took it back and was extremely unpopular with politicians because she said those soldiers are not dying of injuries, they're dying of infections because of the terrible conditions. So what did we take away from this? We took away that she was a nice woman. Oh, for goodness sake. And this is where we've fallen in nursing. You know, we're nice women. And that's why men don't go into nursing. You know, because the adverts say, are you a good mother? Come and be a nurse. No, 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 no. It's to do with the science and art of nursing. And when we talk about Florence Nightingale, we need to move beyond the lamp, way beyond the lamp. We need to move into influence, leadership, change. That's where we need to be heading. So what next? What are we doing? 2020, as you know, is going to be the year of the nurse and midwife. It's about to be ratified next week in Geneva, and Annette and I are heading off there after this. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for us. It will not come again unless we live another 100 years. I'm probably going to retire before then, but you never know, do you? But what this enables us to do is to celebrate nurses and midwives, but also to get our data out there in ways that policymakers will notice and understand. So we have to be going to other people's conference, and I'm encouraging everybody in Nursing Now groups to take the hand of somebody who isn't a nurse at your next conference, so the next one of these, and bring them to the conference. So we're spreading the word outside nursing. Now, here we come to a really exciting bit. We're challenging you. This is called the Nightingale Challenge. And what we're challenging each employer of nurses to do is to put at least 20 nurses, if they're big enough, but, depending on how big the employer is, to provide development opportunities for 20 young nurses and midwives during 2020. We are aiming for 1,000 employers around the world, which will give us 20,000 young nurses who will be through this program. And what we want them to do is to become Florence Nightingale, not the lady with the lamp, way, way beyond the lamp. We want them to be collecting data, understanding how they need to present it to policymakers, telling their stories in ways that are compelling, making sure every board has a nurse on it, making sure every program about health has a nurse in it, on the radio, on the television. That's what we want them to do, and that's what we're going to be coaching and mentoring them to do throughout the world. And we're doing that because, as I said at the beginning, healthcare is changing. And we need to be investing in our young nurses so that they will lead into the future and take nursing into the future and demonstrate all that nursing can do. We have also done a study on gender and nursing, which will be published at the Women Deliver conference. We had a response rate of 2,500 nurses globally who looked at the barriers and opportunities for nurse leaders who are women. And men responded as well, of course. But that's revealed to us a very interesting phenomenon about the way that people see nurses, particularly female nurses, and shown us some ways in which we can help give nurses voice, and this is one of them. By working with young leaders, 20,000 young leaders around the world can change the culture for the future of nursing, can really lead us in a dynamic way into looking at all these possibilities that we have now to lead in universal health coverage, in making sure everyone everywhere has health care. This is critical. So we challenge you, the Nightingale Challenge. And then in 2020, we have the first ever State of the World's Nursing Report. This is being done by WHO, and it is being chaired by WHO ICN and us, Nursing Now. When you hear about this, which you should do at national level, we want you to be sure that you're feeding data into this report. This is our chance to show a direction for nursing for the next 20 years. We have to be on top of this. We have to be making sure the data that's going in is the data we want, that our governments are engaging in providing data. So we're going to be urging you to get engaged with this. We're going to be putting out information on our website, through our Facebook page, about how to do this. It's so important. It's a huge chance. So spread the word, and please help us in this campaign. Most of all, please be agents for change yourself. So it's about going out from here with the messages and thinking, what can I do? Where can I stand that's going to change something? No matter how small, because all of those small changes lead to big changes. So be the leader you can be today. And get involved, and get employers out there to say yes to the Nightingale Challenge. Urge your employers to get in on this. And from the nurses of the world, thank you so much for listening.